Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
This is Article Club, where we pick an article and we talk about it.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
That's all we do. And the thing is, I think we have seen, we love to read books. We had a book club. That's how one of our
R.I.P.
first deepening of our friendship was in book club.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone's saying ain't nobody got time to read books these days.
There's just no time.
No time.
There's no time. But to be honest with you, there's no time to read articles either. It's like the group chat is blowing up. There's just too much.
People sharing stuff. I know, you can't keep up. We're inundated.
That's why I always ask you.
Yeah. That's
What
why I'm
should I
here,
read?
to curate.
But okay, wait. Before we get into that, can you explain why you're so online on the pulse of the article world? How do you what's up with that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's I treat it like a currency, or if it's how I tell myself that I'm interesting and relevant is reading, is knowing, always sort of having the finger to the pulse.
Wait, currency? How so? Like I'm at a party, I'm gonna give you a little nugget. Okay.
Yeah, like I love to be able to point to things in the zeitgeist that people start talking about. And I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this article I read, or this. I feel like nowadays everyone's like, oh, it's an article, and everyone's like, was that really a TikTok that you just watched?
Right, totally. Or a podcast.
Exactly.
But we talked about this.
Yeah.
Ironically, people aren't remembering the pods.
I know that they say. I think the data shows that when you listen, you actually retain less. But thanks for being here.
But if you read it and then listen,
right,
double
dip,
which I think is the idea. We'll read it. Maybe we'll even print it out if you're me. I know you have a computer over there.
I'm a laptop.
Take a little highlighter to the situation and then talk it through. I often go to you when I need a book rack, when I need a podcast rack. I don't really ask you about articles. You just send them to me. So can you?
Yeah, it's more of like a force feeding kind of model.
But I like it. Okay. I have to admit though, I'd say 85% of the time I read the headline.
Sure.
And look at the really cute illustration. And then sometimes I click through and there's some sort of paywall, or it seems too hard, or the beginning, or whatever, or you don't really want to read it on your phone. So,
or I then send it, and I'm like, this is why I liked it, and that's probably all you needed.
Yeah, and then what else am I gonna get?
Yeah.
So this is just, it's nice to sit with something. It's nice to print something out. I printed it out. I underlined some stuff.
Yeah. When was the last time you printed out an article?
Cannot tell you. Don't know. When was the last time I printed anything?
I know.
My IT husband. I'm like, how do I do it?
We don't even have a printer. I go to the UPS store.
It's shocking that I have a printer, but there's no color, so don't even
Why
think
not?
about it.
Can't pay.
I have asked this question. For some reason,
don't remember the
there's
answer.
no color.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we reading?
So today we are reading an article entitled, "Does Anyone Really Know You?" And this is a article in the New Yorker by, I read this. It's interesting because the graphic that they use in the New Yorker is a woman.
Mine is in black and white. But
okay, but it's a woman, like the back of a woman's head. But it's written by a man, and so I think that
illustration by Josie Norton.
And I think that this is something. Actually, my boyfriend Mara and I were talking yesterday about how the men are not all right, and how they're not allowed to talk about their feelings, and they're not allowed to. They don't have women like us that they, or male friends that they can always go deep with.
Well, they can listen to us.
And that's so true.
They have Article Club.
Come
on in, boys.
We're here. Come on. This is not just for the ladies.
Totally.
But clearly, this article I would guess is maybe targeted towards women, even though it's written by a man who has the dopest job. He's the ideas editor at the New Yorker.
Excuse me.
How do you get that role?
I would like to just write about ideas.
Have
you read anything else from him?
I don't know.
We'll have to circle back on that.
Yeah, we'll have to come back. I don't think I haven't read his most recent article, "Could Steampunk Save Us?"
Ooh. Maybe.
A real divergence.
Wow.
But I like this question because I think a lot of the stuff that we end up talking about with our friends is much more of the emotional stuff. We're all in our 30s. We're all in different stages of life. And I think going through a bunch of different identity shifts, whether that be sort of hitting the point in our career where it's well, what's the next thing that I want? Whether it's becoming a parent, whether it's getting married, there's all these sort of big identity moments and
and it's
big
a big
relation
divergent
changes.
Moment. You know, some people are having kids, some people are moving away, some people,
totally.
Everybody's doing different stuff. And it also feels like post-pandemic. Everyone went through this radical shift and then kind of came back to life, and trying to find their people, find their purpose.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I know. So the key question you're asking is, does anyone really know you? And so he starts talking about Anna Karenina, which have you read?
No.
I have not read either.
Unfortunately, no. I am on a, classical literature kick.
Yeah. So maybe put it in the queue.
But as
aforementioned,
but yes, gotta put it in the queue. Yeah.
I also have not read it.
Aforementioned, we have no idea what he's talking about.
But they basically, that's like the key question of one of the protagonists in the book is like basically, can he show himself to this woman, his wife, without her sort of like falling out of love with him, or
who he's perfectly happy with, marriage.
Yeah,
he
not
should
liking
feel connected.
Who he truly is. And I think this is like a lot of the stuff I think that is coming up a lot around like vulnerability and when you are telling someone about you, stuff about you, like, does that actually, are they going to be turned off by that? Or are they going to, is that going to make them want to go deeper with you? And I think it's a question that I'm constantly asking myself. Like, does anyone know me? Who do I show people versus who do I not show? Like, what sides of myself do people get? I had a conversation with one of our friends last year about how people always give me feedback that I'm like a really positive, happy person. And I think for the most part that I am, but I'm like, but that's not the only part of me.
Yeah, they're seeing the magical show.
Right. But like that's what I get positive reinforcement for. But so then if I show them the parts that aren't that, are they going to like it?
Totally. There's a part in here where he basically talks about what is that? Toxic positivity, right? Things in his life are sort of in shambles. Nobody really knows, and he's going to work and sort of, smiling and doing the small talk or what have you, putting on the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He talks about, like, especially as a teen. Like, did you feel this as a teen? Like, that as an angsty teen, no one knew you?
Totally. Right.
I don't think I felt that as a teen.
I was going to ask you, everybody has some, okay, maybe you don't. Maybe you're like, I know who I am as a teen. Maybe you thrived because you were the mean girl when you were a teen.
So true.
We can talk about that. I don't feel like I, was lost. Nobody knows me. But I remember distinctly thinking about what to say in my head. Like
before you
right?
vocalize
Like
it.
Now I'm 35 years old.
Yeah.
I don't think before I say anything. And apparently extroverts think out loud. I don't know if you've been told this.
Yeah. Process externally.
Exactly. Process externally. In management coaching, we learn about this. And I remember worrying in my head about what I would say to people in like middle school. So I have that memory of self-consciousness of what I say. I don't know, and getting sort of jumbled up in my head about it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, I don't feel like anybody knows me. I just remember, I guess it's just classic social anxiety. But how can you connect with people if you have social anxiety?
Yeah, totally. I think they talk a lot about the interesting like dynamics of the parent and child in this article of like the author talks about going through his dead mother's belongings and being like, did I really know her at all? And I was just listening to the Anderson Cooper podcast on grief.
Man, I haven't done it yet.
Oh, which is, but it's beautiful. What a doozy.
Yeah,
and
I hear.
And he talks about going through his dead father, his dead mother, his dead brother's belongings and like he was like, my dad was a prolific writer, but I actually like discovered this piece that I'd never seen before. And just sort of like getting into the inner sanctum of those people.
Yeah.
That I think is really like, do we know our parents? I think about that a lot.
Also, the desire for people to be known is interesting, right? Like some people, it seems like have that need to live a life that matters and need people to know about it. And this sense of what am I leaving behind? What traces? What will I be known by? Do you have that in you? Do you feel like you need to be known? I know that's such a...
No. But, so I think I used to feel like I want to leave a legacy. I want to have something. And then there was this book that I read. I think it's called 4,000 Weeks. And it's like the average lifespan is 4,000 weeks, which is nothing. And so, the likelihood that you're going to be remembered like past 1 to 2 generations is very slim. Like there are only so many Attila the Huns or so many Napoleons
or T Swift
or Joan of Arc's to get our female leaders represented here. That will be remembered. And so the most actually impactful thing that you can do is is like make an impact on the people that in your immediate life, because
Right.
that's
Right.
really all that you can do. You're
Yeah.
probably not going to be remembered.
But do you feel like that reality makes you adjust your expectations accordingly? Is that slightly disappointing, or do you feel genuinely at peace with the fact that some people will know you and that's how it will go, and then you will be forgotten?
I think I've convinced myself that like capitalism is telling me that I need to be remembered for like, you know, the money I made or the company I started or the whatever. And that, I mean, I struggle with it every day because I think that not everyone else still feels like everyone else has been told we need to be remembered.
Yeah.
And we need to be known for these things.
Okay. Do you feel like people really know you today? The people around you? Or who really knows you?
Okay, well, to answer that, I will say there was this, have you read the book All Fours by Miranda July? It entered the zeitgeist this summer. She was like this performance artist, and she wrote this book. It's been heralded as this like menopause book, positivity.
Okay.
But it's sort of this like crazy story of this woman that like goes on a trip and ends up having this like salacious affair with this younger man at a hotel that's like 30 miles from her home. But there's the beginning of this book. There's this part that absolutely gutted me when she's talking about her husband, like basically that her husband doesn't actually know her, and that she's slowly revealing herself to him over time in a way that's like tolerable for him. Oof. Which is, it's gutting. And she says, when we're both ready, I would reveal my whole self to Harris. This would be like presenting a sweater knitted in secret. Oh my God, he would say, how did you find time to do this? Just here and there, wherever I could, sometimes even with you right there beside me. And then the husband's like, I didn't even know you could knit. And it's sort of this idea of like, oh yeah, like I have been slowly showing this part of you to myself over time, only to reveal the big thing. And you'd be like, oh, who is this person? And not have it be received well. And I think that's like all of our biggest fear is that when we show someone the true self, we won't be fully like loved.
Or they don't even want to receive it.
Right, exactly.
In the, he talks about in this article, like, please go back. I want to unsee all that stuff.
Right at the end when he like brings a full circle in Anna Karenina, she's like, ugh, I don't really like this. Yeah. So to your question though, do I feel fully known? I think there are people who know full parts of me, but I don't think I don't think that I fully even know myself. What about you?
Well, do you think that's what it comes down to? Like, how could anyone know you if you don't feel like you fully know yourself? Also, does anyone really know themselves? Like, how do you make sense of the synapses that are firing in your brain all the time? The voices in your head. Nobody can hear those things.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on what knowing means. It's like shades of knowing.
Right.
Like, no one is going to like drink a secret potion and be in your body and in your brain and know you. And maybe that's maybe that's not what knowing means.
Yeah. I mean, in the article he says like, what exactly is there to know? And who are you anyway?
And it's like, if you know everything about a person on the outside, cool, Google knows you. He talks about, right?
Oh, yeah. Which is like that book,
your CV.
Everybody Lies, where it's like if you ask people questions, even in an anonymous survey.
This is why I ask for the book recommendations.
Yeah. He talks about how like if you ask people even questions in an anonymous survey, people still lie because they know someone's looking at it. And so the only place where people are truly honest is in their Google search data. And he's like, oh, I could have predicted that Trump was going to get elected. I could have predicted all these things because of what people were searching on Google.
Fascinating.
Who do you tell all those things to?
I don't know. I think it's for in this discussion, everybody's going to have a different definition of what it means to know somebody
and to be known.
And I think for me, it's like intimacy and knowing are very interconnected, and it's more of an energy and an understanding. I get it, energy, understanding than a this person knows my every thought. I don't know. I feel like they understand where I'm coming from, and I don't need to know that they know every detail about me. I don't need to know that, I would share a deep, dark secret. One thing I have been thinking about post-reading this article are the sort of like identity stories that I tell the world and which of those I start to believe. Like, do you have your canned?
Yes.
This is who I da-da-da-da-da. I go, I'm a well-adjusted middle child. I have literally have one-liners for, who I am.
Yes, totally.
I moved to San Francisco. Like you just, so, and then you start, and there's ones that actually impact your behavior negatively when you're a kid, right? Like for some reason, got in my head, I was bad at math. I was not bad at math. I had a bad math quiz,
I still have that in my head.
And then it's like, I'm Carly and I'm bad at math. It's So
and then lo and behold, your career is in a creative pursuit.
Sure. And maybe the stories are based on something.
No, but that's what I mean. Is like you tell yourself this story, and so it actually
exactly. And then it
impacts
unfolds
your future.
And then it unfolds that way. So yeah, I know. Do you really know yourself? How much of yourself have you like crafted yourself? Like how much are you even shielding the
yourself
real you from yourself?
Yeah.
But I think I'm taking maybe I'm taking a squishier take than you are of like no one knows me for sure. It's sort of like, of course, no one knows every detail. But there are people who I feel like know me well and who like through which I want to hold their hand and go through life because there's an understanding there. Yeah. There's some like intuitive, I don't know. I do feel like people see me at my core. And I feel like you're one of those people. I feel like my husband is one of those people. Thank God. And that's fine for me. I don't think I have I don't get into sort of like a depth of despair around nobody will really unlock what's inside.
Yeah. I mean, I
don't know why.
I hadn't really asked myself this question even after reading the article until last night, only because I'd asked my boyfriend, who knows him best. Lo and behold, his mom.
I know.
Interestingly.
Wow.
And then he asked me, and I said, I don't really know if anyone like fully knows me, which is very ironic because I have tattooed on my inner arm.
Wait, can I just say? Yes. She has a tattoo. Know thyself, inner arm. Can I just say, you said fully know, and for him it was who knows you best.
Yeah,
Mom,
well, I think
which is different than who fully knows.
Yeah. Does anyone? I think I said
who knows you
fully
best?
know you, and I think
okay,
he maybe
you did.
said, I think, or like probably the closest one he said was probably my mom.
Closest.
Yeah.
So there's just no. I don't think he would say my mom knows
to the nth degree.
To the nth degree. You know?
Yeah, right. Well, and the article talks about how it like he talks about asking this question at a dinner party, which honestly I love a good whip around, and this would be a good one.
Yeah, it would.
It would be a really good one.
Yeah. Maybe we should use every article as a whip around.
I like that.
And then we can report back or something.
I like that. We the last whip around we did with a big group was if you could know anything about the future. What would you want? And you could fix it.
I'm sorry.
Or like, and
I was there for that.
Yeah.
I think I was there for that.
It was your birthday.
That was not my. I love these. Like, hey, I want to hear from everybody. I want to build on it instead of jumble of conversation. That is not the one. Everybody's like, I want to know what terminal illness is going to kill my child. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was a real doozy.
That was tough.
Yeah. Mine. Yeah. But this would be a good whip around. But so I hadn't thought about it until I asked him last night, and then he asked me, and but he talks about doing this at a dinner party and people feeling like it's all a Venn diagram. Like the likelihood that your circle fully overlaps with another circle is like impossible.
I like that.
And so it's like who's the closest? Who
You're
is like
you and other
seen
people
most of your
overlap.
Venn diagram?
Yeah.
Because again, like I think I part of like being human is evolving, and so you're never gonna fully know yourself because it's always like a moving target.
I know.
And so we were talking about this a little earlier, like when you are surprised by yourself.
I know.
And how we feel about that. Where oftentimes when someone tells me something that they've observed about me, and it's often not, I would say, positive. Although sometimes it is, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
But when it's something that like maybe I didn't acknowledge, like that I was really jealous, my behavior was jealous, or I was superficial in something, I sort of feel like
who's telling you you're being superficial? I'm gonna fight them.
I don't know, but I sort of feel like I get caught. I'm like, ooh, I got caught with my hand in the candy jar, and I'm like, you got me.
Yeah, but your first reaction is like, oh, you believe
you're
them.
Right. Yes.
Whereas, I mean, I'm like oohing and ahhing over here because even the idea of evolving as a person, I'm like, no, I've always been me.
Perfect.
I know exactly who it's not that I'm perfect.
No.
That's not it. But then I know I'm very decisive. I know, like, I like to say I'm immune to peer pressure. A narrative I tell myself.
And these are some of the things that are true to your knowing yourself.
Yeah, at least that I think. And then, when somebody comes out and has some feedback that I didn't anticipate, it gets me.
Yeah.
And my first reaction is not, oh, you're right. Oh my gosh, let me reflect on that. My first reaction is defensive. So I think it's a superpower that I don't know.
Well, he talks in the article too about like, and we touched on this a little bit with Google, but like knowing facts about someone doesn't mean they know you. So like, I think you'd probably be more warm to something if like it came from me.
Of course.
Or versus like,
yes,
you're, someone at a coffee shop being like, oh, that was that behavior. And you're like, well, you don't even
Of course.
know me.
Yeah. Speaking of people at coffee shops, another thing that's coming up for me in this article, and this happened to me last night. People always think that I look like someone they know, or that I remind them of someone they know.
That never happens to me.
Literally last night. Oh, it happens to me every time I go out. It's, so much so that I have a canned response for it. And last night I was like, you look exactly like my best friend. Oh, and I always say, she must be great, So I don't know. There's like a familiarity thing there.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what that is.
Well, they talk to like how he talks about in the article how people also like some of knowing you is also just projecting some of their own stuff, but also like when they knew you onto you. So like when people see you out in the wild and they're like, oh, you remind me so much of my best friend, then you're like, well, I'm not that person.
I know.
You don't know me.
It's just a weird. And then I think, okay, what energy? Like, who am I that is feeling generic? Or like so many other people. I'm like, oh, it's like the flat bridge of my nose. I kind of have like, it's like Mr. Potato Head. You could like put my face on a lot of different faces or something. I don't know.
What
or I don't know.
What do you speaking of sort of like the knowing you from other parts of life? What do you feel like? Do you feel like your family knows you, or what do you feel like they think they know about you?
And by family, who was telling me origin family? Have you heard this?
No.
There's origin family, and there's when you're talking about like your family of origin, where you came from.
Yeah.
And I have 2 kids and a husband, which is like wild to say out loud. Well, first of all, let's start with kids. They'll never know me. Like I am like
impossible.
Wiping butts. Like I love these crazy little kiddos, but it's like it's just all hands on deck when there are these little kids. They're never gonna have any idea what I like about that. It does feel like every other part of your life, you're constantly getting credit and feedback for that sort of thing, and that sort of builds into the identity. There's this like reciprocity, and that just doesn't happen with little kids. Like you're just, and then I think if you're mom to them, like that's who you are. Maybe they'll know what kind of mom I am, but I don't know. They don't know me at all, which is crazy. And
also isn't that like it's funny that like my boyfriend could say that his mom knows him best, but like I'm sure his mom wouldn't say that. I mean, maybe she would. I'll have to ask her.
Inherently the dynamic.
But like, can that go 2 ways? Like,
Yes, and I mean, when I was pregnant with my second, I felt so terrible. I felt like I was being a horrible mom to my first. I was like, I have to lie down parenting. Like this is whatever. And I was like, she probably thinks I'm lazy, boring, whatever, And of course, they forget and things go on. It was a moment in time. The kid thing is interesting. Do I ever really need them to know me as a person? I would love that. Maybe there's sprinkles of that, and we'll see. I do feel like my husband knows me, and I'm very lucky that he knows what he married. He's and I don't think he understands it always. So that's like a different thing. He's like nothing really surprises him because he's like very clear, I think, on who I am. But like the way why I must be that way is like a whole other thing. And then family, I'm curious how this is in your family. I'm the middle of 3 girls. I like forever will be a second born. I was always the one who moved away, the one who did these creative things, yada, yada, yada. And also the one who always loses shit. The one, like kind of a mess, like kind of like whatever within the family. And when I tell other people that, they're like, you're the most type A organized person I know. But within that context, you're just always going to be that thing.
Right.
Kind of like how I see people.
And you can't get out of it.
Ever. Yeah. And which is, what? That's fine with me. Also, there's also really good things they think. Like I'm a mediator, or whatever. But I also think about running into high school friends. It's like your high school friends who are like, how's your high school boyfriend doing? And you're like, I haven't seen that person in 20 years,
Totally.
You just only know them in the context.
Yeah. I saw one of my high school friends over Thanksgiving. And I was asking her, because she still lives in Kentucky. And so I think like which is where I'm from. And part of her is sort of like crystallized in ember in my mind, or amber, not ember.
Crystallized in ember.
And I was just saying ember with a British accent.
Ember.
And I was asking her about girls we went to high school with because they all live there. So I just assumed that, but she doesn't, one of them, she like doesn't
She's like,
see
I
it
don't
all.
know.
Yeah, she's like,
yes, that's totally, even asking about those people,
Right.
it's like, but to be fair, they do still live there.
Right.
So
I mean,
like,
she went
that's
to her
reasonable.
baby shower, but she doesn't really know her.
Reasonable.
I like when he's talking in the article about the funeral of his grandmother and how
Yes.
the 3 sons gave eulogies and all of them and I wonder if they like coordinated it, but all of them kind of knew her in a different way.
Yeah.
And so you even think about like when you think about like, do you all know your mom and you're one of 3 sisters, like how the 3 of you would each also
would have
describe
totally
her.
different ways.
Right.
And my
and
mom.
which of those would feel most true to her?
And the 3 of us are so different. And my mom is a total chameleon based on what people need. So I thought that was pretty beautiful. I couldn't tell if he was criticizing it. I think he appreciated that was sort of like the best you can do to know somebody.
Is to show different
like
sides of the coin.
Historical context and the sibling and the whatever. Okay, wait. So we didn't answer. Let's roll it back.
Yeah.
Family.
On my side.
Yeah. Well, you said nobody really.
Nobody really knows me, including perhaps myself. But they.
I'm like, I know you.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
I'm so compliant. And then it's like, is that an ego thing? Me being like, no one really knows me is because there's so much to me, or is it by choice or is it by?
No, I think it's just honest.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you in totality.
Yeah,
I think that's the honest answer.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's rephrase to who knows you best.
I think I would say my mom too, maybe. Yeah. But then
like your mom knows me best too. She's so amazing.
But then there's parts of me that she definitely doesn't know about.
Right.
That I either like have chosen not to tell her, or because she doesn't see me regularly.
Yeah.
Just make it impossible for her to like fully know.
Right.
But I think like with especially like extended family, when I think about like my brother, like I do think you get a little bit trapped in what our dynamics were as children.
Of course.
Which weren't bad at all, but it's what's comfortable. So then you sort of all revert back to that. So it's like, oh, I wish you could see me. And I honestly wish I could see him. Like he's a doctor.
Yeah.
And I think about him like operating, and I just actually don't like, I'm like, what is I think of him as much more submissive to me in our siblingship. Mm-hmm. And so when I think about him,
even though he's older,
yeah. And so when I think about him, like in an operating room, being in charge of 10 different nurses and an anesthesiologist and blah blah blah, doing that, and I'm like, oh wow, like I can picture it, but I can't really actually like feel that. Mm-hmm. Like I don't actually know what it would feel like to watch him do that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we just don't get to see each other, like observe each other in day-to-day life.
It is interesting that if you're always changing as a person, if people are always being thrown different things, is the proximity important? Like, does anyone know you who's away?
Yeah.
And what does away mean? That's why you can never move.
Right. I know.
Again.
I know. That's why I think about friendship. Like proximity is actually essential.
I know, especially in this world of we all thought everything could be remote all the time. Like, I think it's, I don't know. Yeah. I've really realized that that's not it for me. I've got to be around the people.
I know. I was
or spend chunks.
Yeah. I was watching The Sex Lives of College Girls on HBO.
I still haven't seen it.
And one of the like 4 lead characters is she's clearly just leaving the show, but she's moving, transferring schools to go to MIT, and they're all like, she's like, I don't want you to forget me, and they're like, we'll never forget you. We'll always be there. And I was literally thinking, watching the show at the plane yesterday,
you will be forgotten, honey.
Like it will not be the same.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's sort of sad.
So then maybe who knows me best changes. Like, I think I would have said like in college, I would have said like my best friend in college knew me best, but now she definitely doesn't. So
that's a whole other thing. Different chapters of knowing.
Yeah, and like the loss of that, and like, do they still think that they know you best, or like how do you evolve with that?
Okay. So here's a question. So that friend or another friend that you were very, very close with.
Sure.
Maybe let's do that one college friend. When you think of her in your mind, is it a feeling do you have a feeling in your body? Do you see her face? Like think of her right now. Mm-hmm, what is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it like her voice?
No, it's more of like an emotional feeling of like I guess I see her face, but I also think about like longing and mourning at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like I miss that closeness, and I'm also sad that we're not as close anymore, even though we are still really close. Like it's actually.
Yeah, I mean, college is especially tough to it was. If we could all go now and be in a commune, like have that to be able to knock on somebody's door.
You can't recreate it.
I know
either.
that's a whole. yeah,
But
that's
I
an
think,
intimacy.
but I think part of maybe also part of the grieving of being so is like actually she knew me so well then, and no one else that like no one probably in this exact moment I don't feel like anyone is around me as much as she was in that time of life, and so no one knows me as well in this phase of life.
Totally. Yeah.
Ooh,
But yeah. Oh, you know what I was going to do? Something toxically positive. I was going to be like, but then there's a new phase and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, that fucking sucks. That sucks.
It's so true. It's so true. I think when you were talking about people know, like seeing you and being like, oh, you look so much of like this person. He talks in the article about transference, like when we superimpose someone that we knew onto someone else.
Totally.
And I think maybe we're always constantly craving like that. Like who's going to fill that void? And maybe it's your husband. Maybe at some point it is your kids. Like I think about my friends whose moms didn't work. Like I think actually they really wanted to be known and to know their kids.
Yeah. I have had that experience with moving in the last couple of years and finding new sort of communities. I find myself talking about my best friends to those people. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if I'm like be like this, or like, or wanting them to be known, or like a way for them to get to know me. I talk about Lizzie all the time to like people are like, oh, it's that Lizzie who's coming to visit, and it's sort of making it feel more like home. It's like speaking them into existence,
Yeah.
Sort of a weird thing. Okay, I have a total pivot.
Yeah, hit us.
When it's really nice to be unknown. So like classic example, you're at a wedding. You're a significant other. No one knows you. It's in a baller place. And you're just like, let's go.
Yeah.
Not that I've done this in forever and a day. Somebody invite me to your wedding and I'll be anonymous. It's, you know what I mean, though? It's like you got no one to please. You got no mask to put on. You can just, my sisters and I were talking about this a little bit actually, because I went, my mom has all these, fabulous friends. They were having a little soiree and I was like, I'll go, and just chatting people up. And there's something about, of course, I'm not anonymous. I'm her daughter. They know her,
right,
but
you
like
get to try on different things.
Yeah. And just let's see where this goes. And some that like that's sort of the zest of life,
Yes.
For me. There's plenty of times I have no interest in zest. I just want to be on the couch.
Right. But I have one of my close friends here loves. She can be very introverted in groups, but then she will like. I remember we were at a party at a friend's apartment, and the apartment below was like Gen Z people also throwing a party, and she went down there and was gone for like 2 hours. Okay,
so that is way cooler than me.
No, but you would do that. You would like go down and then all of a sudden like you're like, oh yeah, I was talking with Art about these people. You're like trying on a different
or just
identity.
Like I'm checking out at the grocery store and what's going on. I don't know. There's something about poking into people's lives, and I don't know what that is about. Being anonymous or them knowing me or not knowing me, or maybe there is some ego kick in that too. Like, can I like amuse somebody, or can I like a pop of connection or something? And you can't do that if somebody knows you.
No, I mean that's why my guilty pleasure I think is going to the movies alone.
Okay, but that's like the least social thing you could do.
Yeah, that's true.
So that you could talk to the popcorn guy and then sit silently in a theater with strangers. But
that's true.
I think that's. I mean,
that's more just probably about it. Like a moment of introversion.
That's a moment of introversion, and I never do. I never do those things. I should.
Yeah.
But that's like the opposite, right? I don't know.
Yeah. You're right. That's fair. But there is something really. It is fun to when you think when you're doing that with like your mom, or anytime that you're like this +1 at a wedding, are you being your true self, or are you actually trying on different identities?
I think trying things on.
Yeah. It was like me on first dates.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Allison used to lie on first dates.
Yeah. I had
fat lies.
Well, they weren't. I mean, they were all lies that were close enough.
Fat that they were
substantive lies.
Yes.
With lots of details, but that could have been true. But I think they were my ghost ships of things that maybe I like wanted to be a part of myself.
Okay, wait. So say more about this. So you would. Well, we need to hear like the core lie.
So one of the lies was two of the core lies were actually both about intellectual pursuits. One was that I was a college Jeopardy finalist. To my credit, I did not claim that I won, just that I was a finalist. But I had this whole elaborate lie about I lost to a girl from Cal Poly. I told this lie in jobs. In
interviews?
In my first job after business school, not in interviews. In my first job after business school, we had to do a fun fact.
Oh, to coworkers.
And I lied about one of these. I did my Jeopardy lie. And then the other one was that I had written a college thesis, which I didn't. And I could tell you, I like described exactly what the thesis was about, because it is. If I had to have written a thesis, it's what that would have been about.
Okay, so what was that about? Was that?
I don't know. I think it is
so maybe
about
similar.
trying on identities.
Stakes are low.
I liked those parts of myself. There are parts that I could never do now. Like I can't be on College Jeopardy now.
Okay, I have one follow-up question before we keep going. Why the lie is so close? Like it's not a shocking lie.
Right.
Neither of them.
Right. They're believable. That's why, because they have to be close enough that people aren't going to question it too much. Like with the Jeopardy, people are like, oh my gosh, can I see the clip? And I'd be like, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. I've never really looked for it.
Okay, no wonder no one fucking knows you.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm lying to them.
No one really knows me. I'm a Jeopardy contestant.
But then I think this question is like, okay, do we want like
but
do we
what
want
is
to
that?
be fully known?
That's exactly right. And I walk into a wedding where no one knows me. I have zero intention of anyone fully knowing me.
Right.
I'm just trying to like
have a good time.
Have a good life. Have a good time. Have a good life. I don't know. Have fun. Like have a little fun without having to put on the masks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then there's always the moment where it's like, oh, well, this is so and so, and here's how and then you're like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not really me.
It's not me.
This is the ASMR portion.
Yeah.
But yes, do you? I think. So I think maybe part of me. I guess this is the question of like, if I want to be fully known or not, and if not, who am I saving that for? Am I saving it for myself?
Oh, interesting.
Am I saving it for a rainy day, like for when I really need to like pull out all the stops, or like to preserve some intimacy that I can slowly reveal over time?
Okay, but do you feel like there's tangible things you're actively withholding?
No.
Okay.
But I think in relationships, I think there's sometimes...
Because you're talking about it as if it's a choice.
Yeah,
like, who am I ready to reveal
I think it's a
to?
subconscious...
Whereas...
Unconscious choice.
Okay.
There are moments where I am entirely myself with people that I feel like know me very well. But I don't feel like I could say unequivocally that I'm 100% myself all the time with people I know.
No, of course not.
But so then how can anyone know
here's
you?
what I think. I think you have a higher standard than I do for this like knowingness thing. Because 90% of the people I know, I'm not complete, like, not on purpose, you're not completely yourself, but like you're stressed, something's happening, or you like, I don't know, you're trying to coordinate something with them, or like you're trying to support their feelings, or it's like not always about you being known in the moment.
So true.
Right? Or like ever
It's
is.
rarely about
It's rarely
that.
about that.
Yeah.
And if it is, then you're not going to that person.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So what? Yeah, is it more of just like feeling like people understand your essence? Like, is it actually simpler than I'm making it?
Maybe. I think the way, like, there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. I don't want you to not feel known. Or like alone in it.
Yeah, I don't feel alone in it.
Yeah. And maybe like, I think you're just I don't think you're making it more complex. I just think you're being more honest. Yeah. Like, and you have a high bar for what that might mean, being known. But I love an essence. Yeah. Like really knowing an essence. I don't know. The people who've spent lots of time with you, who just like know at the core who you are, is just nice. And like, things might change. You might do things like whatever, like things can evolve, but at the core that core can also evolve. Oh my God. And like,
do you feel like people, do you feel like you are a different person depending on, like, do you think that different cohorts of your life that you feel like know you actually know different people?
I don't feel like they know different people, but I think the way I was like brutal in certain contexts before I had to live my life to like become more like, wise is a stupid word. Like, oh, I'm so wise, but like
grown up or mature or whatever.
Like, yes, I think I've always think I know what the right thing is. Like I always, and I used to be pretty brutal about like, no, it's this, like, without like not as open-minded. Yeah. And I also feel like I always have been someone who projects how I'm going to feel on somebody else's choices, right? Like, oh, don't you want to go do this? Wouldn't you stand up for yourself in this situation or whatever? And I've really had to learn, like, no, that's what you would do. That's not the right thing for everyone. That's okay. You even think, like, in my mind, it's like, no, but I'm helping them to, like,
right, totally,
go, or whatever. So I think people in previous chapters, they probably got that same oomph, but it was like cringe. Like if
A
I was
little
looking
too
back,
far.
it would be like so cringe. Like, no, like take a second. You actually don't know. Listen. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people still feel that way.
Did you ever feel
cringe of it
like when you have revealed parts of yourself, or like that someone that you regretted it? Like in the article, it talks about Levin in Anna Karenina.
Right,
Give
right.
Give
It's
the
like-
diaries
it's like,
to them.
put it all
And
back.
She's like,
No, but I also,
why did you give them to me? I don't want these.
Yeah, but also I'm a weird with regret. I'm one of those like, oh, I don't have any regrets person.
Yeah.
Which I think is also probably a cop out. Like, of course, I have done things I wish I didn't do, but I do feel like I've learned from things. And also, let's just label right now what a huge, massive fucking privilege that all comes with. Like, I'm in a body and have a face of like a person who's able to go through the world and be like, yeah, I think I know you, and sure, and go shoot for the stars and blah, blah, blah. So like, I've never had to hide like my outward, like I've never had to sort of like live up to that. Like, yes, I've been like the only woman in a room and, you know, in like a big room or whatever, but I don't know. I felt like I always had everything I needed to succeed. I felt like it was always like the cards were not stacked against me to start.
Yeah, you never I think we have one friend who sometimes feels that they overshare, and that then like they want to like sort of like put the genie back in the bottle or the toothpaste back in the tube kind of thing. And part of that could feel like that, like people knowing that much. In part, I mean, like I think it's a question of like, what's the difference between insecurity and like being known,
right?
And like maybe the more you know yourself, the less insecure you are, and so like because we
feel
and
and like that person's gonna think I'm an idiot for saying that, but like at the end of the day, okay, you know, okay. I'm just not a ruminator. I'm a future facing person. It's like, what's the next thing? And I cannot live in that like conflict zone. Like I will go and address it so that my future is like clear. Yeah. What about you? Do you feel like
less and less in like as an adult? I think as
You
I
feel like you go
feel
back.
more known by myself than I.
But you used to.
Yeah, probably when not like never. I never was like wringing my hands over a conversation.
Yes.
Most of the time when a conversation is over,
Yes,
unless
yes.
there are like, unless
Yes.
that person tells me that there's something that's left over that like upset them or whatever, I'm not like blinking about it.
Yeah. I remember like in high school, that feeling, that pit in your stomach when like you said something sassy and it got back to the person or something. Like I feel like I learned enough times how fucked up that feels. It feels so shitty. But yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I've regretted opening up.
Should we?
Let's.
Yeah. Okay. Move to the closing.
Yeah. Okay. So
The grand finale.
at the end of Article Club, which is what this is called and all about.
Don't you forget it.
We're going to talk about what's blown up the group thread. You know, like what's the hot goss, what's going on, could be anything under the sun. And I do have to say, there are multiple group threads. So like, there's like a whole moms thing happening. There's like the core, there's like, you know, there's like all these things. So can be any of the group threads. I don't know, something that's bubbling.
Yeah.
What's hopping off on yours?
What's happened on my group thread? I think there was a lot of conversation about Thanksgiving sales, which is like kind of boring.
I know. But it's like, you need to know, like, who do I buy for this person?
I know. And this is going to sound weird, but one thing that there was a lot of conversation about, because we're all getting older, I feel like in the last year, we're all started really feeling our bodies.
Oh, yes.
And unfortunately, and I feel too young to be feeling my body, but really working on like the fitness and the strength training and
that muscle mass,
and then
baby.
also thinking about it for my mom who's
Yes.
getting older. And so there's been a lot of discussion in group chat about weighted vests.
Yes.
For walking.
Rucking and stuff.
I don't know about rucking.
Rucking is when you put weights in your backpack and you walk like 9 miles.
Yeah, but now they got the vests.
Okay,
but they kind of look like bulletproof vests.
I know. I literally asked for a ruck pack, like from Charlie for Christmas.
There we go. I didn't even know. We didn't even know that we were on this
we're all
thread.
supposed to be rucking.
Yeah.
It helps whatever. Stability.
Yeah, because especially if you're not like, if you don't have time to hit the weights.
I like walking anyway, so why not just add a couple
a few lbs.
Add a few lbs on there.
Okay, so rucking. Yeah, I didn't even know that's what's called. I was all in
Also,
weighted vest
carrying
walking.
children.
I have a friend who wore one. In like, she only walks in New York, and she's like, she's like, it's black, and I realized I basically look like a suicide bomber, like
it's
walking around
not
New York.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a good
they're
look.
big. That's why the vest is kind of nice, but do you really want to put on the vest?
Right.
I don't know. TBD. Anyone listening out there who has a recommendation for how
A
we rock.
recommendation.
So recommend. Oh my God, she's so good. I will say at the end of the day, we went on the like Ruck site thing, and they're like $300 backpacks that you put shit in, and I was like, I'll just start with my backpack.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but maybe that's bags. It doesn't have the ergonomic straps. Yada yada.
Yeah. Okay. What's blown up in your group chat?
Okay, there's been one thing that just has continued to recur in a few threads. It's basically about how husbands or long-term boyfriends, partners, usually the male partner, turns into a horny dork. And okay, have you seen this SNL sketch?
Yes.
It's basically like,
Do you want to give us an impersonation?
No, I can't do it like our friend Allie can do it. Dakota Johnson was in it, and it's like, hello, mama. It's like, come to mama, like when you get out of the shower or whatever. And everyone, I'm telling ladies universally across the world, maybe this is happening to the men too. I don't know. But the partner turning into the horny dork, it's like, let me want you. Like, ooh, la la, come here. It's like, oh my God, I can't do it. So anyway, everybody's passing around their like horny dork husband's boyfriend story. Like you'll never believe he came home.
Dork. Wow. I took my boyfriend home.
Tell us more.
For Thanksgiving to meet my whole family, and he refused to have sex with me the whole time that we were home because he was basically like, your parents are going to. He's like, Ali Lee, your parents are going to hear us having sex.
He's an amazing accent.
And I was like, no, they're not. Like, we've got like double layered doors. Like, they're asleep. Like, no one's gonna hear. And he wouldn't have sex with me the whole time. And I literally felt like I was.
Okay, so what were you doing? What was your dork move?
I mean,
like
I was. Well, yeah, I did. There was definitely some shoulder shimmying.
Oh wow!
And then and then at one point we were like in the shower, and he was just like, he was like, I feel like I am having to like restrain you. Like he was just like, stop it.
Oh my God.
He was like, I feel like I have
you
to say no
horny
means
dork.
No. I am.
Okay,
I
so
am the
nothing
horny
was
dork.
successful. So you have no advice for the dorks out there.
No,
man,
I got no moves to dorks.
It's tough out there. It's just.
What's your advice? What would you like if you'd like them
the
to
advice is
animorph?
the advice is give me some space to want you, please. You know, like let me change.
Yeah. Let me change. Let me change.
That's the advice. Let me change and like make a Cal invite. I know it's unsexy, but that's my advice.
Has it worked for anyone?
Oh, I don't know. We have to find out. We have to see what the listeners think.
Okay.
But horny dorks, if you're working with a horny dork, I see
kits,
you.
and then how to gain muscle mass. If
And
you
how to gain
aren't-
and
if you
rucking.
aren't
Rucking is a really good one because that's
backpacking.
totally in the zeitgeist right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep us posted. All right. Well, does anyone know you?
Does anyone know me?
I don't
does anyone know me?
It's a circle back.
It's
It's an exit. It's an outro. All right.
Does
well,
anyone know you?
join us next time when Allison curates a perfect article. A perfect article to talk about. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.